All right, welcome. Continuation of the maze project. This is week 2. In this tutorial, we have covered the 4 views. We'll have another video here of the modeling basics, and then this tutorial we're going to cover is adding materials. So this will be the final tutorial for this week. So let's jump into Maya and talk about materials. Now, you typically cannot see the entire render of materials without lighting, so that's something to be aware of. Okay, so if I go to let's see, Maya projects, Maya projects, and the maze projects. I have, a couple images here where I've rendered out, some materials. You can see like the gold flakes, this sort of, candy red, sort of car shine, some sort of chrome material, and then some other materials look kind of flat looking and not specular or shiny. And so you're going to not necessarily see that everything in the viewport here, but we will be able to see it in a thing called the Hypershade. So this is where we left off last tutorial. I created, some weird objects in Maya here, and we're going to click on the Hypershade, which there's a little shortcut, this little blue sphere here in the render sets here with a little white sphere on top of it. You click that guy, that opens up the Hypershade. And the Hypershade is basically a window of itself that allows you to manipulate materials. And I'm going to dock it somewhere in here. It's okay to dock things. So if I bring it up here, and you can see there's this blue line here, I can basically go into different areas, and you'll see like off to the side here, eventually there'll be another blue line. But I kind of want it to be up here a little bit. And so I just want to hover it to about there and then release, and it'll be docked in here. Here you can see the Hypershade. I can pull it out though and just drag it out, and it's a floating window. So it's totally up to you if you want to do that. Anytime you want to reset your workspace, all I gotta do is click in here and go to Maya Classic and reset current workspace, and everything kind of goes away here. All right, so I'm gonna click on that blue sphere again, open up the Hypershade window, and I can drag it, and maybe I'll actually dock on the side here. Actually, that seems like it'd be a better spot for it. So we have here the materials that we've created here, and they have different little tabs here. You have textures, utilities, and rendering, and some other things, lighting, and so forth. And here is the property editor, and if I move this over, let's see if I can just go in between here. No, it looks like it's maxed out here. So I actually am going to let this float out. It's just a little easier to see here. If I have a material selected, you'll see here is the nodes for this material, and I can drag it and I can move it around and so forth. You don't really have to worry about that. We're not going to get into too much depth. Just to understand what's going on here is that that's what's going on when I click on any of these materials here. Something might update down here. Now you can graph the editor, or you can clear it by clicking this little icon here, so that clears the whole graph. So over here on the left, you have the ability to create materials, and there's the Maya standard materials here and the Arnold materials. We use what's known as the Arnold renderer in Maya, so I do recommend clicking on the Arnold renderer. And the one we're going to add a lot is the AI standard material shader. There's all kinds of shaders here you can kind of work with, but the AI standard surface shader is really great. So if you click on Arnold and then click on AI standard surface, it'll create it. So here you can see it in the scene here, and it has all these presets here on the right, which is really great. And it's basically this one that's highlighted with the yellow here, so you can kind of see it in the scene here. But if I click on the presets, you can see all these presets. They have this thing called car paint. And I'm going to do that, maybe the metallic one, and I'm just going to click on replace, and you'll see what happens. The color changes here, which is really cool. And you can kind of expand this viewing a little bit, and then you can change how it appears by clicking on this little guy here. It'll represent the cloth or a teapot. And what's really interesting is you can alt click in here like a 3D little mini viewport. So it kind of give you an idea of what an object would look like if it had that material applied to it. Here's an ocean wave kind of thing. But basically I keep it on the shader ball typically. But you have all these settings in here to play around with. So the first one is the weight of the color, which is the main color here that's being represented. But it has a roughness and a metalness that basically gives some qualities to that. And you can adjust the sliders here to your heart's content and play around with. If you click on the color, you can change the color though. If I click on this blue here and pick, say, green, you can see what's happening here. The green is appeared, which is kind of cool. And then you can always rename it. This is kind of generic, this AI standard surface 10. So I could call this, you know, green car or something like that, knowing that it's green car paint, right? And then over here, it's being represented as green car, and there it is. So it's pretty easy to do, you know, something like that. So I can add another AI standard, and the same process. Click on Arnold, click on AI standard surface, which is right here. And I would have another one in here. And I already have a bunch already in here. So this one hasn't been added preset yet, so I'll click on it, click on the preset, and maybe I'll choose for this one diamond, for example, and I'll click replace. And you can kind of see a little preview of what that would look like. And that's kind of cool. So I could rename this diamond, right, if I wanted to. And then diamond would show up here in my menu. So that's basically how you add or create a bunch of materials in the Hypershade. Now, none of these materials have been applied to these objects yet, right? So how do you apply them to the object? So you have to select the object in here, and then you can hover over one of these, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can right-click on it and assign material to selection. And now when I click off, you'll see that this is kind of greenish. Another way to do it is to select the object, and then you can right-click on the object, and if you hold down the right click, you can go all the way down here where it says assign existing material, and then there's a drop down list. So I could choose that diamond, and there's the diamond. Now the diamond looks a little strange. It looks like it's transparent, like something is wrong here. That's okay. We'll get into that when it comes to rendering in the next week's tutorial when it comes to lighting. But I just want you to kind of play around with this and have fun and experiment different ways to add the materials. So again, I select the object, and if I want to select multiple objects, like maybe I want this whole top unit, I can drag over all these, right? And I can then right click on it, go down and assign existing material, and then I can choose whatever material I want in here in the list. Maybe on this one I'll choose this copper. And again, it looks black, but in the final render it will look like that shiny copper, which is kind of cool. Now that G key is really interesting. So if I want other objects to be copper, like maybe this gear I want to be copper, all I gotta do is hit G and remember the last material that I selected, which is pretty cool. But if I do want to change the material, there's lots of different ways you can do that. You can go over to any of these, right, and select that material and apply it. So instead of copper, I could select this and choose the ceramic material just by right click, assign material to selection. And now the ceramic color has been selected here, which is this color here that you can see. So the diamond doesn't have to be diamond, which is here. I can again right click and I can go down to assign existing material and choose another material like the green car. And so it's lots of fun and very easy to like assign materials essentially. You either select the object, right click, and go down to assign materials. And you can assign a new material too. You can actually create the material right from here. I'll do that this time. I'll click on new material, and then I'll click on Arnold shader, and I'll click on AI standard surface shader, and it has been assigned. The difference is it has not been named and it hasn't created a preset yet. So I can click on preset, I could choose clay, hit replace, and you'll see here that the clay has been replaced on there, on that material. Now again, I can select another one of these guys and hit G once I have assigned it a material. So again, I can select that object if I want to be the clay, which is, I didn't name it, so it'd be one of these. There's the clay one here. So maybe I'll rename it, call it clay, right? And now I can assign that to this object. So I'll select this object again, right click on this and go to assign material selection, and now that one's clay. And then again, if I want any of these other ones to be clay, all I gotta do is select them and hit the G key, and that will repeat the last action. Right? So really easy to do. Hit G, G, G until I have all the materials applied. So in the next tutorial for next week, we'll cover some more modeling. We'll do a little more modeling, and then we'll actually do some, we'll go more in depth into the render settings here. Until next time, see you soon. Cheers.